the specifics of each cancellation obviously need to be assessed on a case-by-case basis, these are some relevant issues. Is the situation covered by the trader's terms and conditions? In other words, the small print. Some terms and conditions will seek to protect the trader in the event of what's called a force majeure type situation. In other words, some unforeseen act which has taken place and has frustrated the whole basis of the contract. They may say that the trader, the terms and conditions may say that the trader reserves the right to provide the services at a future date if they can't be performed as agreed due to circumstances beyond their reasonable control. If so, are those terms rendered void by the Consumer Rights Act? The terms, the small print, will only be binding on the consumer if they satisfy the fairness test prescribed by the Consumer Rights Act. Essentially, a term is considered to be unfair and therefore void if, contrary to the requirements of good faith, it causes a significant imbalance in the parties' rights and obligations under the contract to the detriment of the consumer. Has the pandemic made the provision of the services impossible, or could they still go ahead at a future date? If the contract has become impossible to perform, or has become radically different from what was agreed, the consumer can argue that the contract has been frustrated under common law and brought to an end. Frustration is a long-established doctrine, but is one that's not easy to prove because the consumer may need to show that postponing a contract to a future date would deprive the contract of all real value. However, wedding events are a very good example of where a consumer could successfully argue that the contract has been frustrated if the wedding date is a central date to the whole event, which it most probably will be, although not necessarily. So in the case of wedding events, frustration is likely to be arguable compared with, say, some other leisure service, such as a hot air balloon ride, which could be taken really at a later date.